Hello and welcome to GFW Radio. This is the podcast for February 27th, 2008. We're back with the usual gang of morons and our extra fifth chair moron, Anthony Gallegos. Welcome back, extra moron.
Thank you. Sorry.
I don't really have to call you that, do I?
No,
That's not very nice of me. I guess I'm Jeff Green, and who are all you guys?
Ryan Scott.
Why do we got to do this, Sean Elliott?
Well, I don't know. We don't have to.
Well, I'm not going to. It's like the AA meeting, you know.
Hey, every
You
podcast.
don't have to tell your story. Hi, I'm Sean
Every
Malloy.
podcast is somebody's first podcast.
That's true.
That's right.
Introduce ourselves.
That's why. So I know that because we're doing this whole internet thing, we're sort of, you know, like a breaking news kind of business now. We're more than just a monthly magazine. And as we were walking down here, Ryan and I passed by the fax machine. And there was a fax. There was a fax coming out, like right as I walked by. It was like, "This is fucking so exciting! We're about to podcast, and there's like news coming out of the fax
Addressed
machine."
to who?
And first of all, like, who faxes anymore? It says, "Attention, website editors." Well, that's what we are now, right? And this is singer-songwriter Mandy Moore launches social networking website for women. I think we're breaking it here first on GFW Radio. The GFW Radio. If you're like on Kotaku or something or Joystick and you're reading this, please credit us for breaking this. Mandy Moore, singer, songwriter, actress, and fashion designer, has added another facet to her multiple careers. Chairperson of the website www.youpumpitup.com.
Wow.
You Pump It Up offers a series of challenges designed to inspire women to pursue their own wellness goals.
No, wait, hold on. You Pump It Up, is it Y-O-U or is it just you?
It's you.
Okay.
Okay.
Just wanted to clarify.
YouPumpItUp.com.
Is it sad that I just assumed that?
Yeah. Let's see more about the site. In addition to more, YouPumpItUp.com will feature a panel of experts including entertaining guru. Huh. That's how they're described. Entertaining guru. He's not just a guru, he's an entertaining one. Erica Lenkert, celebrity yoga instructor. Mandy Ingber. Guys, Sean's looking at me like, what the fuck? You're wasting time on our podcast with this.
Sounds good.
Fashion consultant Bobby Thomas and award-winning journalist Cindy Simpson. Whatever. Anyway, so yeah. You heard it here first.
This is not a waste.
YouPumpItUp.com.
This is the perfect place to go and grieve with our big, beautiful women. Create profiles for them all.
Pumping it up.
It just makes me sad. The whole thing makes me sad. It
Why
makes me
can't
sad
they call
that
it like Obija City?
right.
Get it?
You Pump It Up. How's that a name for a woman's website? That just sounds so wrong somehow.
Pumping? Why just that has pumping in it?
They are
It's
out
like
of
You Go
URLs.
Girl mixed with pump. Up the jam. Pump it up. Wow, your
Okay.
feet are stomping.
Well, okay.
That's how
So
it
see,
happened.
you get it better than I do. But
in
they
touch.
fax somebody at their job decided it was worth their time as part of their day to fax this piece of paper to Ziff Davis. And you know what? It would have languished there for weeks had I not rescued that sad piece of paper off the fax machine to publicize it here.
So basically they got what they wanted.
They got
out
what
of
they
you.
wanted. Yeah. I know
such
I'm
thing as
going
bad
to that
press.
site. Okay.
You forgot to talk about what comes in the press kit. The sound bites with Mandy Moore, the B-roll of Pump It Up, the B-roll of a photo shoot with Moore, and a link to Pump It Up. Oh, it actually has a fucking URL in the press kit? That's hot. All right.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see y'all next week. That's it for GFW Radio. We'll be back next week. Actually, on a more serious thing, I wanted to publicly thank Andrew Skip Pfister for last week's monumentally amazing job of putting together those GFW Radio and One Up Yours podcasts all
Staying
week
up
long.
very late. Yeah.
Staying up very late.
Those out.
That dude was working harder than anybody else at Ziff last week. And so thank you, Skip, for doing all that.
Hear, hear.
So if you liked all that, thanks, Skip.
So, you mind if I get us on track back into the world of PC gaming?
Oh, sure. If you feel the need to take this somewhere else other than Mandy Moore,
well,
go ahead, Sean.
Get a conversation started. Just in that,
Whatever.
Since last week we were busy podcasting.
Yeah.
Every day, multiple times a day in some of our cases. We didn't really get to go over to the game, developer conference to go to any of the show's floor space and just kind of like browse around and see what was there. But we did on Friday, and I went with Sean and Anthony. I know both you and Ryan got to go over there too.
Mm-hmm.
And we found some pretty cool stuff, some scientific wonders.
Do you want to talk about the what's it called? The personal IMAX?
We've got a full list of things to go through. I guess I figure we can like just take turns alternating talking about them.
Okay.
So I'll kick it off with the personal IMAX. It's a fine product known as the Z Dome. Like, what's up with that too? They're like the Z people like the Z board. Let's give them the Z Dome.
Is that it's a ZDOME?
Z,
I think it's
DOME.
too, yeah.
And what this thing is it looks like just this big, parabolic dish, some kind of analgesic geodesic dome. And no, it's just this big, dish, and you stand in it, and a projector projects your game onto the inside of it. So it creates a pseudo 3D effect when you stand in the middle of it. So, typically,
it's immersive.
If you're playing a game and whatever's on the far left of the screen or whatever's on the far right would be, like in an FPS, it would be what's actually on your left or right.
Is this as any game?
Any game, yeah.
So it's not. It doesn't have to be built.
No, they were demoing it with Assassin's Creed
Or movie, anything that can work through a projector.
So like Bejeweled, you could do it.
So the first
thing in Super Mario Brothers.
When you see this ridiculous thing, I mean, we were actually there. We decided that we were going to hunt for weird science.
Yeah.
So when we saw this dome and we saw people standing around it, we immediately flocked to it. And
like
the guy who had, it was like this old mustachio dude who brought it there, and immediately I think it was like Anthony was like, this guy got kicked off America's So You Want to Be an Inventor or whatever. What's that show?
Yeah.
There's like that show where it's like the Gong Show for inventions. That dude got kicked off like in the first round. But he was there. He somehow paid for floor space. In some way, it was kind of cool. It was like a look in the future that is like decidedly retro. Like in the way that you remember when that 3D live action game came out, it was like, Time Cop or something, and it was basically
the hologram one.
The Sega hologram, and it played like Dragon's Lair or something. You move left or right or up or down on cue, and basically the movie plays out. But it had this like sort of pseudo 3D effect to it, and you look at it and you're like, I could see that this is supposed to be futuristic, but maybe more so like a Buck Rogers episode filmed in like 1979. So the sad thing is, this thing kicks off. The Z-Dome kicks off so much glare that's all I was really seeing is just the glare.
He said you have to play it in the dark.
Yeah.
So he said it was
that was not the best environment for the Z-Dome.
Right. Okay.
Was the floor.
And the other, prominent feature is that it's enormous. The thing was like 10 feet tall. And
Second bullet point.
Yeah, you'd have to like saw another couple feet of space in your front door to get into your house.
Yeah, I was going to say, but remember he also said that the final product has the projector built into the thing, so it's like this 12-foot long beast.
It's going to be in a big plastic enclosure.
Because the projector, is like several feet behind the dome, and because it's, I don't know, he apparently was dissatisfied that it was just sitting back there. He wanted to enclose it in, so that's another, like, I don't know, $15 worth of plywood.
That'd be so great to bring home to your spouse or partner or whatever, Hi, honey, I'm home. Look what I got.
You'd have to be
Get
the guy,
that fucking thing out of here.
The guy from Home Movie that lives in like the robotic house. At least one of you has watched Home Movie.
I've seen
right?
Home Movie.
Yeah.
Nah.
Well, that guy had a Home Movie. Of course, we talked about the documentary who made American Movie, but that's this one on people that live in unorthodox, living spaces. And this guy's got all this shitty contraptions and stuff. But an example of why this guy is so rad is that his living room is on a rotating dais kind of thing. When you're sitting in this, you're on one of his couches and he doesn't like you. He flips a switch and it just rotates you so that you're suddenly outside.
Nice.
And then you're just outside the house.
Awesome.
Super villain den.
I could use that.
Yeah. So what else did we see there? Either you guys.
Wait. On
you
that
have questions about the Z-Dome?
I do. I just wonder, is there any world in which this might be cool?
Like Ricky Schroeder from Silver Spoons, like as a prop for a TV sitcom for like a spoiled rich kid. I mean, you don't know better. When you're like a poor 8-year-old like me, you're like, holy shit, he's got Centipede in his living room.
All I saw when I stepped into the Z-Dome was the lights on the ceiling, like in very bizarre floating positions next to my face, and I barely saw Assassin's Creed, so I don't know. Plus, you'd have to design something to like
shaking his head. There's nothing cool.
There's
about
no
it.
redeeming
fisheye properly. Yeah,
we didn't even get the price. That would have been
Well, it's
No,
right,
he didn't know at this point, though, is what he said.
He was kind of just, feeling the crowd.
I think he was just hoping that someone would want to buy a patent off him, is all he was hoping for.
Right.
Well, he said he's like,
wanna...
he custom builds these for like the military and stuff right now. I'm like, oh. I heard that one a lot. Military applications currently.
That's when, soldiers like get in there and they're like making fun of it because they're like, shit, this is supposed to be Uncle Sam. And it's like, I got better technology in my living room. I could go to the PX and get better tech.
Convex plastic.
So what else?
AmbiX was pretty hot. We all saw that. Anyone want to break it down?
You want to, Anthony?
Yeah, it's a series of speakers and fans. And you set them up around you.
Don't forget the lights.
Okay, well, the speakers have lights on top of them that change according to the game. So, like, when I saw it demoed, it was like a Warhammer Online thing. And when the wizard would go to cast a spell, like, the spell was blue, so the lights would dim blue. And then when she'd cast it, the fans would blow on your face. And
as mentioned,
as if you were the wizard
on GFW Radio in the context of the train sim, which is what they sent like a press release on before. But that spell thing, that's a little better.
Yeah, well,
cool.
And you checked it out with Quake.
Yeah, that.
So this is like a color organ.
That was immersive.
Right?
It is.
It really is. Yeah.
It basically is.
Oh, and it has the vibrating.
The vibrating ergonomic
wrist
rest for the keyboard.
And that's basically like a rumble pack for your keyboard. Your wrist just rests on a rumble pack.
So in case you wanted, your wrist to rumble.
What's a rumble pack on their keyboard? You mean like your keyboard's vibrating while you're playing?
Cried when the rumble pack was taken out of their console controller.
I get. Oh, that makes more sense to me.
Really?
A rumble pack on the console. I don't know.
None of them.
I don't like the
sense.
idea of my keyboard rumbling.
It's not your keyboard. It's just the thing you rest.
Oh, the pad that your wrist is on?
Yes.
I don't know. You said you kind of dug it when you were looking at that Far Cry 2 demo, right? The wind on your face.
I was kind of like, okay. I was kind of swept up in it.
Really?
Well, first, like you're playing, what is it? I was playing Quake 3. And I'm paying attention to the screen. You're playing a deathmatch game. I'm not going to notice that these lights are turning red when I go into a red room, or they're going to turn green when I go into a predominantly green color scheme room. I didn't even know that they were there. It was completely stupid, right?
But maybe.
But the fan was supposed to be like, oh, you're running. You could feel like the wind in your face. And that was ridiculous. It was just a mismatch. Completely idiotic way to showcase your technology. However, when you go up to the Far Cry 2 demo, and all it was doing was playing, a movie of in-game engine, and so it would be out on this African savanna, and a wind is blowing through in the game space. It's knocking over, blowing the brush down, and you can see the branches and the trees wiggling and stuff. And then when the wind was blowing in conjunction with that, I was like, this isn't that bad, because it kind of gave me that vibe. And when I was playing, and I thought of like it would have been cool in Stalker when all these atmospheric anomalies kick up, and it's just kind of like creepy and quiet, and you're walking around and you're kind of like filling in the rest of the blanks anyway. Like, so to speak, with your mind, you're like, just putting yourself in the experience, like just imagining you're here. And so the fan, as dumb as it sounds, it kind of like worked because it was timed well. Like it would be like there would be a gust, you'd feel it, and you'd see all the leaves bend over. And like, I can't hate on for that. If it was cheap, if it was really cheap, I don't know just how cheap, but
what they should do though is like get full like weather effects in there. It's like when it's raining.
Just dump it
it like rains on you. Just like fill the thing up with water
it smells
before you
too,
play.
like there's some gazelle manure that floats your nose.
That will happen. Maybe next year's GDC. I'm sure it will. The people are already working on versions of this.
Oh yeah, they like license this technology out
to anyone,
to other people who want to make these wacky sensory peripherals for them.
That'd be great. So you see here, you're walking by some poop, and notice if you inhale now, inhale a little bit. See? Smells like poop.
That does smell like poop. It's very realistic.
So you sound like you're sold on this one.
I don't know about
maybe
that.
Maybe just the fans.
What is this, the what up yours now? I love it, man. I'm willing to be a spokesperson.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
I'm like, it's where things suddenly go from like, oh, he says the breeze was kind of okay to, hot damn, dude, you advocate this thing.
No, you love it, don't you?
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
So, Sean, what about your Cyclops from the X-Men technology?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish you remember what it was called.
What?
But basically, it was this technology where there's a camera. This one was attached underneath the television, I think, where it basically scans your eyes You stand there for like 10 seconds while it calibrates, and you like look at all these different points on the screen, and then you control the screen just by looking at it. So they had a demo
That's
of
fucking
like
creepy.
these spaceships flying at you, and you just looked at the spaceship and
they would blow up.
exploded.
Wow,
As if you had heat vision.
that's fucking awesome.
But you
Yeah.
said it was fairly accurate.
Yeah, it was fairly accurate. There was a bit of a lag, like it was kind of spiky. It would jump around, but
And the
it
game they were demoing looked like an SNES like Top
not,
Gun game.
Not even
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it wasn't for
It
games.
looked like the kind that
It was again just like two like 60-year-old engineers from
So
who
it's
knows
just a
where,
tech
just, like-
demo.
yeah,
Mall-
and again they were
mall
like
kiosk.
military applications.
Exactly, and they said
Yeah.
people have been using it that are like paralyzed for years to control their computer and stuff. So they just want to see if
But yeah,
they can find a way to sell it
worked
to games.
surprisingly well. Like, and then they brought up like a paint program, but it was like a giant block, so you can't accurately paint with it. But it was definitely following my eyes, and it was really creepy.
Does it work if you have glasses?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably not.
That's a good question.
Does it work for people with very poor eyesight?
They worked fine, like where they were set up. They were just kind of like at the back end of some, the low rent row, and the lights were all wacky and.
It doesn't seem like you don't want to use that for something like coloring, even coloring a box. Like, wouldn't your eyes, like you'd start like going like cross-eyed and like darting back and
I
forth,
don't know how long I could do it.
applications
trying to
and,
fill
like,
in the box?
The first thing that comes to mind would be like in an RTS for like unit selection.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I don't know how you would indicate to it like the equivalent of like a click, but I mean, if you're just selecting your units by like eyesight,
Yeah.
you need some kind of binary like. So you're not just the difference between a look and an active look,
You need to combine this with
But- well,
see-
the mind control helmet.
and there we have it.
I could see it like in an RTS, like so you would still have the mouse moving your main look, and then the keyboard moving your body, but your eyes would control cursor of your gun. So you would still be able to
Oh, in
look,
an
but then you
FPS.
could look and control where your gun's pointing,
Right.
just by looking.
Kind of like basically like Track IR,
Yeah,
except you don't need to wear anything.
there you go.
It just knows where you're staring.
It's like the idea
have
of
to
being able
hold
to
really
blow stuff
still.
up with your eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd just be more awesome even in real life.
It was fun to just like
Cyclops and the
stare
X-Men.
at shit and it explodes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's
You had to wear.
my childhood dream.
Yeah, they just need to make.
You go around wearing ruby quartz
need to make-
sunglasses all day, and then when you go
Exactly.
to play your game, you take them off.
They just need to make.
one release you get, dude.
They need to make Cyclops the game where you just hold some glasses and lift them
Lift
whenever
them
you
up.
want to.
That would be rad. You got to be careful because
Sold.
you don't want to like set like Jean Grey on fire or whatever.
Right, that'd be your one. Yeah, they got 5 sales right here in this room. So did you guys see the mind control helmet too? Or?
I only saw
I
it.
saw
I
it,
saw
but
one
I
of them. I
didn't-
guess there were 2 because there's the emotive and then there's the like neuronet or something else. I can't remember
Was
what that
it-
one's called.
It must have. We got to give credit where it's due. I think it was Robert Ashley. We were telling him about this, and he was already envisioning a game where you like have X-ray vision and mentally like strip women's clothes off by like looking at them on the game. He wasn't saying like he wanted it, but he was like,
He's saying that's the first game that'll
this
come
is what's
out.
going to happen with this. Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's going to be a Jedi game where you just tell people what to do by thinking about it.
That's
Staring
right out
at
of
him.
an episode of Extras. Did you guys ever watch that show with Ricky Gervais? And he had
only clips.
Jean-Luc Picard on.
Oh, I saw that one.
Yeah.
on the YouTube.
Yeah, playing himself as they always do on that show, and he was running all these different script and story ideas by Ricky Gervais. Jean-Luc Picard was, and every idea was the net result was, and then the women take off their clothes. That was every single thing. Was
You did it justice, Jeff.
Sorry.
It's hilarious.
Sorry, can we just edit that out? Anyway,
So they had
Explaining
2
jokes.
other like mind interfaces there. I didn't get to see. I saw them from afar. I didn't get to try either. We have
Yeah, same
Crispin
thing.
Boyer is got to play with them, and he said though, and basically these are you put this. It's not like you tape electrodes. You have to shave your scalp and tape electrodes to yourself, but you put
that'd
this,
be great.
this fairly Star Trek looking thing around the crown of your head, and then you just think, and the game reacts in kind. Yeah. He said it worked well. I don't even know what he was saying he did, just moving objects around and things
Pushing
like
blocks.
that. you know.
Right, that's what
Yeah.
you said, right? Yeah, you think about moving the chair and then it moves or something.
And he said it worked, so.
It didn't seem to work for the people, everyone that was standing there while I was standing there
Oh, so
watching.
that's right.
'Cause there was like a long line because everyone wanted to try it.
Maybe some
running
people
out of
just
time.
don't have good telekinetic
That's what the guy.
powers.
That's what the guy, the carnival barker, was.
that was
basically
his-
saying.
yeah.
Fuck you,
Oh,
mid-carnival
you
barker.
mental midget! You cannot control the block.
And it's probably
give it
just,
to him.
it's just like a block, right, or a chair or whatever.
Well, they had, like,
so then it's
Stonehenge
sort
or
of like a
something.
clairvoyant. They can just guess. Well, if we put a block in there, they're going to think I
gonna-
want to move it.
Right.
What
no,
else
but
would
this
it
is
be?
why your gauge would be specifics. Like if Crispin was like, I want to move this block like 3 1/4 inches to the right. And then it did that as opposed to just moved in
Is
general.
it really that accurate?
Well, maybe
If it's
they
like,
got
well,
a
I wanna
guy-
move it another like 3 inches the other direction. If it worked along those
They
lines,
probably had a
no.
guy sitting
You're-
under there, like with a curtain over the table, and Crispin's going like, "I told it to move to the right. Why is it just moving?" And then the guy goes going, "Oh fuck!" He's
Oh,
like with a
there's a slight
magnet
delay.
underneath there. Oh yeah, it's a little bit of delay. There it goes. It's going to the right now. Right.
I like the whole angle though, where like the guy's like blaming you. It's like it's not the interface. It's like your own like mental. You're a mental midget, which is kind of like I knew this guy.
Only
there's-
special people can do it.
He would go to the Benny Hinn faith healing things, and he would go there for entertainment. Just get all
I'd be
quiet.
afraid of my life.
Jeff has already
if I
got an
lived there.
apology to make to our Muslim listeners.
We've been doing this
later
so
on.
long. Sean can read my mind. Oh, don't bust on religion, now, Sean.
But but so he'd go to these faith healing things, and he got a kick out of it until they brought someone up there who was just so clearly and truly crippled, and then they couldn't do anything with the guy because Benny Hinn will like kind of push you and you'll fall down, and then
Right.
you're supposed to, when you get up, all is well.
Then you have rapture.
But they couldn't do anything with this guy who was in the chair, and so then they started blaming him, like, "Oh, ye of little faith," like it was.
Wow.
So I'm just bringing it back by way of unnecessary analogy to the reason why the blocks weren't moving in the right direction when you were.
Oh, can I go off on a tangent just before I forget? Speaking of unnecessary,
Okay.
just my apology.
Who am I to deny you that?
You could. I just want to apologize. Speaking of unnecessary and offensive, because a guy wrote me he wrote me last week about the podcast in which Sean and I talked about the crazy taxi story. And this is a guy who's a loyal reader of ours, and well, actually, I guess I can just read what he said. I love your magazine and podcast. Never once disagree with them. I am Arab. I'm Muslim. I heard your recent story about the taxi, which was very funny. I laughed hard. Same thing where I live here in Ottawa. But I just want to point out one little thing. Please don't adopt a terrorist stereotype of all Arabs, Muslims as crazy mofos with bombs. I'm not. I'm a gamer, not some crazy idiot. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, I do apologize if I made that... if I made some kind of joke along
You
those
were
lines. It's
totally
quite
joking. You did joke.
Well, of course
and
I was
the rest of
joking.
us were kind of like, did you just say that? And you were clearly joking.
Of course I was joking.
And the context, even then, even in the context of the joke, it wasn't that all Arabs are Muslims either or are insane terrorists, but that a guy who was just talking about how he was arrested for refusing to snitch, and then and was kind of like disturbing you in other ways, and that we were exaggerating for comedic effect.
Right.
Then he scared you in your joke.
Right. Right.
So there's a difference.
And really, it's more just that it's like taxi drivers at, midnight who ramble on tend to be the crazy ones. It had nothing to do with his ethnicity or religion.
Right.
Shit,
The last cab ride we got, Anthony was worried for me because we had dropped him off in Oakland where he lives, and then he was taking me to my place, and it was just some like old white hippie guy. For some reason, he worried Anthony just because he was talking. Do you like Jim Croce? Do you like him?
Jim Croce.
He kept on asking us. He kept on asking. Whenever he'd ask a question, though, and when we'd go to answer, he'd turn up the music louder and louder every time. Did you notice
Wow.
that? Eventually, it was so loud.
So what, he was like
Wanna hear
cranking
your
time in a
answers.
bottle or something? What was-
And then when I said "see ya" to Sean, he was like, "Oh, see ya," and I was like, "That's weird."
And he's like, I don't know where I'm going because we got a ride from San Francisco. He's like, I never come out here. So back to take us, our
Yeah.
listeners, back to the GDC.
Yes.
This other item, I don't even know what it's called. It's basically a vest, an interactive vest and helmet, and you put the vest on, and it was described to me by Crispin as having a number of inflatable rings inside of it, and that it's, when I say vest, don't think of like some Abercrombie and Fitch sweater or LL Bean catalog type stuff. Think of like an enormous life vest, the kind that you hate to wear. You go like somewhere and they're like, you have to wear your life vest at all times. As soon as you're out of like visibility of whoever told it to you, you take it off.
You feel like the stick.
So it's like one of these, and as you're shot in the game, these rings will instantly inflate in various parts of the vest to simulate that you're being hit. And then similarly, the helmet has an inflatable band on the liner, and that will inflate to various, PSI or whatever at different speeds and make you feel like bullets are whizzing by your head. And as Crispin described it, the helmet is just like shaking around on his head and falling off the side. It looks like just this idiotic contraption. But like, dude, that's like the bullets are knocking it off your head. You got to just hurry up and put it back on. But so yeah, if that sounds fun to you, you're like sitting there. The dream is if we could hook up all of these things together. So no, you put the vest on, you go inside the Z Dome, but then you also have the fans from Ambient in there and some of the colored lights around the perimeter. You've got your eyeball thing so that you can stare or whatever, and you've got your brain control going at the same time. And then wasn't there one? Oh, there was another contraption I do want to talk about that was cool. Of all of them that are kind of like what? Well, there's one more that you guys checked out. It was like a Wiimote type lightsaber thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was. I think pretty much what it was. It was just a way more accurate
way more 1-to-1.
We saw a bunch of different motion control things, but it was very much like the dream everyone has of like holding a lightsaber with your Wii controller. This was actually it, and I get the impression now that we've had a Wii for however long I've had a Wii that game is not going to be possible
on a Wii.
Yeah,
on a Wii.
On a Wii. But like this was very much like you were knocking. They had like a samurai dummy, and you just you blocked with it when he swung at you, and you knocked off different pieces of armor depending on. So it was pretty cool. It was really accurate and wasn't nearly as laggy as some of the other ones I've tried. So I don't know if it's just a matter of like that particular prototype technology was like $1,000 and that's why it was so accurate. But
right, but it'll get cheap. It's like the sad thing is that few, if any, of these things will ever reach mass market on PC. But you're smirking, but it's like,
I was just thinking mass market, they're not going to reach any market.
But some...
Right. Well, that's the thing. All these people were here just like hoping for game developers to come by and say like, I would like to use this in my game.
Philips is definitely selling the Ambient stuff.
Well,
they are
true.
hoping to reach a market. Wow. This was beyond the prototype. This was like they license the technology. They want to sell it. They are selling it.
That vest you were talking about, they actually said someone who's making a vest licensing the Ambient technology. So I wonder if that was the same
ties
vest or
it
not.
in.
Yeah,
that's the thing with Ambient technology. It basically just like it's like the communication channel from the game to any number. So it's not just Ambient is not just the lights or the fans, but it's basically anything you want to hook up to it for additional, force feedback or whatever it is, lights and
Yeah. So if you, the listener, wanted to make the thing that releases the manure scent, go for it.
You could use
Talk to
Ambient
Philips.
technology. Yeah.
But even those eyeball things and stuff, we saw like developers that would walk up and designers, and they'd be like really interested because he like blatantly said he's like everyone's looking for that next Guitar Hero, like something we can make a peripheral and sell it to everyone.
Yeah, I see exactly. Yeah. So on PC it's very unlikely. I mean, you have the Guitar Hero scenario where you have a killer app that you package it with, and the two go together and it catches on, so people are willing to buy it, but. So far, that's pretty rare.
But these all the things you're describing just sound like of a group, right? They're like how to make it feel like you're more in the environment of the game you're in.
Immersive technologies,
right.
But it is cool because like the Wiimote thing, obviously, the Wii is a success. And they're going to have second generation technology at some point. Maybe with like the Wii 2 or whatever they call it. They'll have a different name for it. And then they will have something that is capable of 1-to-1 because the technology curve is going to do its thing. And instead of costing $1,000, they'll be able to produce them for $14.95 in the right province in China. And then we'll all benefit by having and I say Nintendo there is because they're able to sell the entire thing at once and then people develop for it. But it's like now, like the Novint Falcon, which is a haptic device I've talked about a few other times, and I played it again, and I won't tell you about their updates. But, there's so many things you could do with it, but who's going to waste their time developing a game for an interface that maybe 1,000 people have, if that?
Right.
Even if 20,000 people have it, they're still not going to do it.
Right.
But the interesting thing with this is now it was always designed so that, the controller part comes off of the swing arm, and you just pop it off. And now what they have is like they have like a pistol grip, which works well with shooters. I mean, it feels like now, so you look on the screen, you're holding your gun, and now you're holding it and it's kicking, and you're using it to turn and look around on the screen. That was cool. They had an actual, instead of just this ball, they had an ergonomic, kind of had the feel of a Nintendo controller or something, an ergonomic plug-in. And I tried that with the game called Gish that, that's available now in a general form that doesn't use a haptic interface. It was like the Independent Games Festival winner from 2 years back. It's also on Steam. And basically in this game, there's this ball, and you can change its density so that, like, if you want to break through something beneath you, you get heavier. You can get more slippery, or slipperier. The word slippery to go through pipes and stuff. Sticky to climb up walls, and you jump by sort of bouncing. So what they did is with the haptic device, the interface is really streamlined too. It'll put up, like, on the version of this game, so it'll be like Gish Haptic or something, Gish Falcon, and it'll say here's what the commands are, and it can remind you on the screen. It looks like it was designed that way, and then it actually feels like you're holding the ball in your hand and moving it around the screen, so you could feel as it gains momentum, and if you want to change directions, you could feel it fighting against you, or if you make it heavier, you feel it get heavy in your hand, and then when you bounce it, pardon me, I have to cough. You take the controller in your hand and you feel the weight, and you kind of like bounce it up and down, and you get the sense that, again, that you're feeling it or you're holding it or something. But it reacts when it's, climbing up a wall and it's in sticky mode and stuff. It was very cool, and it made the game go from an interesting sort of IGF game to the kind of thing that, like, a good Nintendo game, for one of their interfaces or something like that. They had a bunch of adaptations and stuff so that you could play versions of Half-Life 2 and Quake and all these other popular games using it, COD and stuff, using the gun device. But their internal software they had there's some interesting stuff. There's like basically a complete shameless ripoff of Katamari Damacy, but again, you're moving it in a way, instead of moving it with two sticks, you're moving it like a ball, and as you go through and you collect objects and get bigger and bigger, you actually feel it get heavier in your hand. It was pretty fun.
The biggest kind of barrier this thing has is like the footprint it leaves. Like, because you got the reason like the Wii remotes, the Wii is so popular is because the remotes are like little iPod things you can just lay around on like your table, and no one they're not obtrusive. They kind of blend in. This thing's like the robot from Space Camp or something.
It looks like a centrifuge for a med lab or something.
Yeah,
you have it on your desktop.
Having that around.
Yeah, that's my problem with all these things. This vest, all the shit that. Would you really want this lying around your house? I mean, some of this technology does sound cool, but listening to you guys describe it, I think, like, well, this would be cool in an arcade or something, but not in my house.
Who wants to suit up before playing their PC games?
Yeah, that's right.
That is the dream of every gamer.
Wish me luck.
And a gaming vest. A gaming necktie.
I will defend, though, that it's not that ridiculous looking, the Falcon thing. It's a conversation piece. So someone comes in your room and you're like, teledildonics, I've heard about this. But it's
you can't really tell what it is at a glance either.
Yeah. I don't know. I see promise in that, and I think that in the future it will be one of those things that, like, again, if Nintendo or someone could do something with it, because it's great. I mean, Penumbra is another game, right? It's this horror game, but it can simulate, in addition to weight and stuff, it can actually simulate textures, like, where you're running your hand over something and you feel that it's corrugated, or you feel that it's slippery or sticky. It's not just like turning doorknobs and stuff, but it's actually in a sense. Come on, man.
I'm sorry. The joke was just sitting there.
Teledildonics is a joke, man.
Right.
Go back to your Rolling Stone albums. So,
what?
What is it?
Huh?
Sticky fingers?
Oh, sticky fingers.
There you go, man.
Okay, all right.
An innuendo. You were.
I thought it was random.
I was calling you old.
No, I love.
Yeah, that's what I
love
thought
the
it was.
Stones.
Okay.
No, that's
Old
why I'm able to make that reference.
Technology.
But at the time, someone's like, "Do you get it? No, do you really get it?"
Yeah, I owned the album for a long time before I understood that. Okay, anyway.
Pour some sugar on me. Let's talk about that one. All right.
Where are we?
Oh, man. I was like
Lost.
somewhere in the
You were
middle
talking
of the
about
defense
Penumbra.
Of haptics.
Of Penumbra.
Okay, yeah. So, I don't know. I just think it's in the same way that it's fun to use the Wiimote and play games with that, I think that there's some value in the haptic interface, and in an ideal world, someone will put out the technology in a way, either with killer software or it'll be like a Nintendo of the hardware world, so that it puts it into more people's hands so that it's actually worth someone's time to develop for it. But it's so hard to change in there, because even when Nintendo has put this device out there, how many of the developers for that system are really, really taking advantage of it? When they do, it's phenomenal. But
Right.
even given their market penetration, and you still have. I was looking at some of the Wii games. Anthony and I went to EB Games. I was looking at some of these games, like, what the fuck is some of this shit? Like, how is this even on the shelf?
Well, it's like what you said. It's nascent technology, right? I mean, everyone's still just learning how to deal with this.
Right. Or
But not just that, people are just shitting out games for the system because they know that the install base is high enough that they'll just buy it.
and they can sell them cheap too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's this one. It was like Turkey Shoot or something.
Yeah.
Rooster Shoot. Did you see that?
No.
Imagine like Duck Hunt if it sucked and it was like turkeys or something.
Imagine Duck Hunt if it
Turkeys.
sucked.
It had
sucked,
graphics
right?
like when you were describing the graphics for the Cyclops game. I was imagining like in the mall
looked like
kiosk,
Turkey
there's someone, and on the outside it looks like someone got the mold for like an N64 for like the actual plastic hardware, but inside it's really like a chip that's like a quarter of an inch square.
And it plays 28
and
games.
It's playing 28 games. It looked like the graphics.
Supercade.
The graphics look like that.
Turkey Shoot.
Until some kid goes in the mall and like takes a picture and sends it to Nintendo Power, the letter column, and then the editors there like quietly pass it along to their legal department. Which mall did you say this was? This sounds pretty cool.
Cool. Nintendo Power is no longer at Nintendo, though.
That's true.
True.
It's owned by Future.
Indeed.
It is
Or
indeed.
licensed or whatever.
Future of Nintendo. So we saw other stuff there. Let's hit it up.
Ryan?
Right? Did you see Bionic Commando?
Why are y'all looking at me?
It's your
No,
turn.
your turn.
I did
You have
not.
the stick.
I did not see Bionic Commando. You were telling me about it, though. It sounds pretty cool.
Aren't you the one writing the story on it?
Well, I haven't
He's going to go see it.
seen
Oh,
it.
all right.
Yeah.
Let's send the one guy who hasn't seen it.
Hey, I like the old Bionic Commando, so
That's why. I knew.
I'm gonna go check out the
Ryan,
new
you like
Bionic Commando?
This will be fun for you.
yeah.
Ryan and I attended a really great Sid Meier Q&A at GDC. I was riveted.
Yeah, you were falling asleep.
You sound sarcastic, Jeff.
I fell asleep.
In fact, I have a picture
Yeah,
on
he
my
took a
cell
picture
phone.
on his phone. He
Why
has
was it so
evidence.
not riveting?
It was good. I shouldn't diss it. Let me
It was a
state for the record,
one-on-one.
I love Sid Meier.
It was a one-on-one Q&A with Sid Meier and his questioner, and he was just like
It
Sid
was just
Meier
sort of
talks about
like-
the old days.
Yeah, it was just like, so Sid, you're awesome. How awesome are you? It was like that kind of
Okay.
That's all.
Like 7, 8. I'm 8 awesome.
So it's like listening to our podcast from last week.
Pretty much, yeah. No, it was good. I was tired.
I did see a good panel with Jack Emmert of Cryptic Studios, the former lead on City of Heroes.
Was it the one I was at with you? The future?
That was a different one.
Okay,
The
'cause
one
that
I
one
was
was
at was just it was just him, and he was talking about episodic content in MMOs and sort of how they released content with City of Heroes, and it was surprisingly frank about like a lot of the stuff they got wrong, which, take it with a grain of salt. He's working on a new game that directly competes with City of Heroes, so it's
Right.
probably pretty easy for him to admit those things, but it was interesting. And then the one we were at, he was on a panelist with a bunch of other MMO developers and nearly started a war.
Yeah, the microtransaction war. That one was
Yeah.
weird. That was called The Future of MMOs, so I was like really excited because Rob Pardo was on there from Blizzard, Ray Musica from BioWare, Jack Emmert from Cryptic. So and like a guy from WebZen, a guy from NCSoft. So there's like a bunch of, MMO luminaries up there in a panel called The Future of MMOs. I was totally expecting anything but what we got. It was just the questions they're all business focused. And that's not like what I really...
That's what the Game Developers Conference is about.
No, they can talk about design at the Game Developers Conference. There's a design track. But they were talking more about, whether microtransactions are the way of the future rather than like how
quite
story
heatedly.
might be playing more into it, which is what I was expecting, Ray to talk about, since they've been touting whatever their MMO is that isn't Star Wars but might be.
It's not KOTOR Online.
Or is it?
Or is it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I figured, because they were all, back when we did our Dragon Age story and they were hinting at what it might be, they were really talking about how narrative and who knows, what they learned from Mass Effect might be in there. So I was expecting that kind of talk, and instead it was, are consoles the future of MMOs? That kind of thing. But back to the microtransaction thing. What was the question? It was just basically, are microtransactions
They
the
were
way to
talking
go?
about like microtransactions versus the
Subscriptions.
typical subscription-based model. And, some people were arguing, like, Rob Pardo was saying it's kind of an East versus West thing. You see games like MapleStory that are all completely microtransactions-based. And then games like WoW, City Heroes, whatever, are all subscriptions. And Jack Emmer, it was kind of like an off-the-cuff comment. He said that, like, microtransactions make him want to stab his eyes out or something.
Something like that, yeah. I think he said colorful remarks at least 5 times in that regard. And, of course, you got the Nexon guy, MapleStory.
The MapleStory guy, yeah.
Who make their living off that, like, next to him. So he's just saying, every time someone talks about microtransactions, I just want to kill them and stuff like that.
But Jack Emmert was like, basically like, I don't believe in microtransactions. I think these are stupid and not viable.
Well, we haven't really seen it implemented over here in this country yet, like in a significant way.
Just in games we don't play.
With games for adults.
But they are trying now. I saw 2 different MMOs for PC during the GDC, which were both for adults and going to be based around like microtransactions to make their money.
What were they?
One was called Requiem Bloody Mare. And that one.
Can you say that again?
Requiem Bloody Mare was the name of it, and the whole premise of it was like it is for adults only. Like when you fight a mob, you'll like chop off its arm when you're grinding against it, and when it falls, like it'll
an entire
like
mob's
time
collective
killers.
arm.
Huh?
Like an entire mob's collective arm.
No,
But he means mob is a.
Sean's just being a jerk.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like he made like a really big point of showing me like a centaur that had boobies, and because he's see, and we show the breasts. This game's clearly not for children.
adults.
I saw that in Age of Conan already.
Yeah.
There's a booby
Really?
button.
But see,
you got
but
a little buff that makes boobies go over your head.
But all these, when I talked to them, they all said that they were going to have microtransactions, but they haven't figured out what they're going to be yet. Everyone's
I think
probably
that's what Jack
moves
Emmert
on
was
the
responding
Centaur
to, because he
extra.
said he was, he's been in a lot of business meetings lately for obvious reasons, where it sounds like all the business folks were just like, microtransactions.
I'm sure they're hearing
microtransactions."
that kind of nonsense.
I think it's just driving
From a
them
player's
insane.
point of view,
Right.
though, I don't really object to it, because as long as it's one of those scenarios where, hey, if you want to be the guy who pays money for this stuff, you can be that person. If you don't, you don't.
Right.
Because, like, the whole subscription model thing, like, give me a break right now. Like, at Tabula Rasa, I got that when it came out, and it was like, even when I installed it, it was like, okay, well, what does it give me? 30 days, 14 days? Because that's all there's going to be.
Yep.
Like, no, I'm not going to pay. Like, seriously, who's going to pay $14.95 a month? Well, you.
I will pay
Everybody-
for this
everybody-
one. Yeah,
but
But for
you-
World of Warcraft, but for multiple games.
I'll pay
yeah.
for one.
No, for multiple games.
I
no
only
way.
like
You'll do it for World of Warcraft because everyone you know is doing it.
Yes.
And you're all playing it.
Well, I've
and you're
always
all-
been subscribed to at least one, sometimes
But-
2 at a time, since like the dawn of MMOs.
I think you're an
Most I've
anomaly,
been
though.
subscribed to at once is 2.
See, but I think that that's what they're realizing
paid
is
for
that
myself.
the only way they're even going to get people to try stuff like Bloody Mare or whatever is because it has to be
change
free to
the
play.
name.
It
Yeah,
really is a problem, though. I mean, this is like it's like all of these things are like a different cable company, right? Like,
Yeah.
how many cable companies are you going to subscribe to a
get to
month?
your
I
shows,
mean,
yeah.
seriously, $15.
are they
You're right,
premium
$15 a month. There are premium channels, right? I mean, if you can't beat, WoW or Lotro, I don't know.
NCSoft announced 5 million sales of Guild Wars worldwide
Yep.
today. It put that
That's
in
not
perspective of
subscription-based, though.
That's not
the
subscription.
most recent story. Yeah, that's my point.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And there's no fee to play. And then in comparison to Tabula Rasa, which they recently launched and has been called a financial disaster that's having severe repercussions for the company, Korean standings.
I should also add that the games I saw were also free to download too. They were completely free if you wanted them to be.
Well,
So
I'm not putting Bloody Mare into my into my browser.
Wait, what was the other one? You said there were 2.
I actually can't remember the name of the
Oh.
other one. It was pretty forgettable.
Gary, it's not even on Tabula Rasa anymore, is he? He's like off at,
He's
at
on space.
NASA now. He's like going to space.
He's already abandoned it.
Yeah.
You know, speaking of
That
like
guy he is such a. He's like a snake oil salesman. He just like rolls into town with this new thing. This is going to change everything. Every other game's like whack-a-mole, not mine. This is going to be the future of MMOs. Well, thanks for the money. I'm off to another town.
Springfield's monorail.
Yeah. With an angry mob chasing after him. Hey, fucker, it is just like whack-a-mole. Bye.
Oh, shit. So, on the topic of, like,
So funny, I lost my head.
boring GDC things,
Yeah.
which is fine because it's not for us. It's not a press show.
Right,
And,
right.
like, it's disheartening to me when you see it become a press show. But even, like, I went to a post-mortem on Unreal Tournament 3 hosted by Jeff Morris and, I think Michael Capps. Yeah, Michael Capps, president at Epic. And, it was like, where am I? I mean, like theoretically, it should be interesting, right? You're like, okay, what went well? Where did we succeed? Where did we fail? But you look and all around you, it's like people holding cell phone cameras and cameras up at the screens, and the screens are they're just showing
Graphs.
slides and graphs, but then in between they're showing stills from Unreal Tournament 3, which has been out now, and not only are they just showing stills from it, they're showing the screenshots that have been up all over, and everyone's like, poof. Dude, the cameras just like, hit the sky like it's a Britney Spears concert, and everyone's just like, shh, 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 shh,
So people are taking cell phone photos of slides of screenshots.
of
a game that's already
Unreal Tournament 3. And I was like, okay,
Those are going to be worth a lot.
I don't understand what's
what
happening
has this
here.
conference become?
I always get that feeling when you see people taking like cell phone photos like out the window of their plane. Like you're going to get a photo of your window with glare on it. Bravo.
Speaking of cell phones, when we went to register for our press badges,
Oh, don't.
we
All
get
right,
there,
go ahead.
and Robert Ashley is in line, and we're like, oh, shit, it's Robert. What's up? Start to talk. Jeff,
Fuck.
meanwhile, is on his cell phone. So I'm talking to Robert. I take my place in line behind him. There's another person in front of Jeff. Then, one of the people who's signing you in says next, and it was Robert's turn, followed by me, and then Jeff. Jeff runs right up there. He's still on his cell phone, still talking. and I look at Robert, and I'm like,
I'm ashamed.
Oh man!
and then
Yeah.
we call him out on it. Dude, you know the asshole you're always making fun of in the Starbucks line? Bobby, what's up, man?
I was so that guy.
You are that guy.
I realized
At GDC.
the
nonetheless.
karma is so bad for me there because I'm always bitching at people in line at Pete's about doing that. Just this morning, some dude was on his phone on one of the hands-free things, still talking as like the clerk went up.
Are you
as he
about to
went up.
tell a story about what you just did?
Yeah, and I'm trying to deflect. I was completely cell phone asshole. I cut in line in front of two guys and was still talking while cutting, and was still talking while they were trying to sign me in. Yep. That's me. And then Sean, I look over and Sean and Ashley are like, "What the fuck, dude?"
I know it didn't
Oh.
even matter because we were all just gonna get our badges and go anyway. But it was just
I was
the
just cutting
principle.
in front of these guys.
It was just like
You're a
I
busy
know.
man. Got places to be.
Right.
that's that.
I apologize to you personally in public now for
That's
cutting in front of you.
GDC.
There
we
was
we don't belong there.
I did like Captain Commando. That's not to be confused with the other Capcom franchise. Captain Commando is like the 4-player sort of beat 'em up game. Kind of played
You
like
came
the
to me
Simpsons
saying
game
that you
or,
just played Captain Commando, and I was like, what?
I got it confused because I had played Captain Commando on Game Tap not so long ago, and I kind of liked it. There, you could be a ninja in there. Mac the
Wow.
Knife, man. He was in there too. He had band-aids on his face.
I'm so confused.
What the hell are you talking about?
Thank God it's not just me.
It was an old arcade game. It wasn't even that old. It was like next-gen technology at the time. But so anyway, the Bionic Commando, they have two games. They have one that's a remake of the 2D side-scroller thing, but it's like 3D graphics, 2D presentation, and had really, cool-looking animation. And the games are all based on the fact that you've got, in Todd McFarlane fashion, where instead of an arm, you've got a gun. In this, you've got like a grappling hook for an arm. And you're just able to, someone throws something at you, you grab it, throw it back at them. In the 3D version of the game, which they have this next-gen 3D game, kind of acts like, Spider-Man. So your mobility, when you're going through these enormous 3D environments, you're able to stick to buildings, or, if you see an enemy, you can grab him, throw him up in the air with it, and then shoot him, Devil May Cry style. Or you could grab him and then pull yourself to him like a flying kick. So, you assume the Kung Fu kick You go flying. Jeff, you're just like, yeah, this sounds fucking great.
I'm listening to you. I am. I played Bionic Commando.
It's really cool to see in motion where you're just like, zipping all around, and it just looks like it'd be pretty fun. And the 2D one looks pretty cool to me too.
So is that 2D one a straight up remake, or is it all new?
That I'm not certain on. Is it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's.
And so it's multi-platform. This is what I don't get.
Yeah,
it's on PC and
PC as well.
This seems like a weird skew for it, isn't it?
Well, Capcom.
Well, they also put Lost Planet on PC as well.
I did say skew. I'm sorry.
You did.
What skills is it going to be on?
And I didn't think Lost Planet was
Platform.
That's
good
even
for
worse when you
PC.
spell it out.
Devil May
Stop
Cry
keeping
4 is
you
coming to
hit.
PC.
That doesn't seem like a very good PC game either.
Yeah.
Unless you
That's
play
something
it with a
plug in
controller.
controller for it.
Yeah.
You know what was
Hey,
oddly
Resident
good
Evil?
on the PC was Resident Evil 4, though. That played well, I thought.
Yeah, if
I
you
think
plugged in your
'cause you have to-
controller,
I don't know.
Yeah,
you have to
I
you couldn't
shoot.
use a
You
mouse.
couldn't use the mouse to aim, right?
Yeah, I
Which is
did
like
use
the
that.
Oh,
thing.
really?
So
Oh.
then,
The thing
right,
that
I was
was-
just playing the console.
I've been getting nostalgic for that game, so I just borrowed the Wii version from Anthony.
Have you tried
RE4.
it? Is it good? I keep
Because I'm
almost
about to. I got it in my
getting
No,
bag to take home.
it is really
this
good
week.
because, like, on the GameCube ones, you just kind of aimed at a guy and you hit him where you him. Whereas this one, the Wiimote controls exactly where your gun's
Right.
aiming, so you can aim for like a knee and drop them really easy.
It seemed really cool to me.
So it
It's
does
like-
work really
it's
well.
a good excuse because like I wanted to play it again, but I don't want to just. Well, my incentive to play it again on the GameCube would be that I unlock some super weapon or something. I hope there's a code. That's the first thing I'm doing when I go home. I'm going to go online and I'm going to look at my cheats and I'm going to see if there's just some code I can put in. I'm not expecting to find it because they're going to be, well, you got to beat it in order to get like
Yeah, that's their design
the Thompson or
methodology.
the laser. But that's stupid. It's like I've already beat the game the right way.
Capcom always does it that way.
Let
though.
me put in the fucking code and get a laser and go in there with the Wiimote and cut people up with it. Get the zombies. They're not zombies. What are they called?
They're zombies.
What is their name though again?
They're not zombies. They're undead.
I don't know.
dudes.
Is there a Spanish name
That's
for
the
'em?
whole thing. It was supposed to. Yeah, it's the Spanish name. There's a bunch of listeners right now yelling it. At
Yeah,
themselves
they are.
over and over.
We're a PC podcast. Fuck you.
yeah.
We don't know the name of the
Too busy
official name of
fucking
the.
them up. I didn't have time.
That's
to learn
right.
about
They just had to die. That's
I just
all.
learned that you
again.
don't shoot their head.
Re-die.
them. Actually, some people would consider that a spoiler. Some of them, you don't shoot them in the head.
You don't.
Well, if you do, you got to be ready for something else to
Something
happen.
to happen.
Oh, so the ones that then the tentacle shit comes
Hey.
out. Oh, I blew. Is that a spoiler?
Spoiler.
There are tentacles.
The game's been out for a long time.
limitations. Yeah, come on.
Spoiler. The spoiler is more like we found out in Lost that Kate's been taking care of baby Aaron.
A way to go, dude.
Oh man.
Thanks.
Just wanted to put that
Hello.
out there.
Well, I'm sad.
Now we got to put spoiler on the front
No,
of
we
on
don't.
the tag.
Keep talking. What else did you guys see? Let's hear about it.
What
I
did
wanna
I
know.
see?
On the I think the last day of GDC, we had a big reunion here at the office for all the LucasArts
That sounded
guys.
wonderful.
We had Matt Leone, One Up's executive editor, and I. We got to, Ron Gilbert, Dave Grossman, Noah Falstein, Curse of Monkey Island's Larry Ahern, and a bunch of other dudes. I'm not sure who they really. I mean, they're not designers or anything. They were more on like the art side, but they were LucasArts employees back during that era.
Hangers on.
Oh, but
Scum groupies.
but they
Piss heads.
we kind of hit record and let them talk.
Cool.
I bet that was funny.
So
That-
you did a
it was-
podcast for it? With like was
It was
Retronauts?
it was
video,
filmed.
right?
Oh, okay.
Has it been on yet?
It has not. We recorded like an hour and a half of footage. I believe it's going to be edited into a number of different
10 minutes.
segments.
Oh wow.
But it was really cool.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we couldn't get like Tim Schafer.
Ron Gilbert's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, all those guys are really good, but there were a few of them that we missed.
So
out on.
give us a highlight, a choice quote.
Well, we asked them. One of the things I asked them was, back at that time, LucasArts was obviously, Indiana Jones and Star Wars, but there were no Star Wars adventure games. And I guess they had scrapped a Boba Fett adventure game idea at one point and a C-3PO adventure game.
Wow.
So it wasn't that they never had any in production. They
I
just
would have
never,
played either of those.
Yeah.
You
But
still
so-
want to play Warcraft Adventures?
I do.
Me too.
Who wouldn't play a Boba Fett or C-3PO adventure?
Probably.
I wouldn't. After the trilogy came out.
Yeah.
After the new trilogy
Depends when it came out.
Well,
This
no,
would've
if
been
it was
way
back
before
then.
that, though.
Back then.
Yeah, then back then I would have, of
They
course.
said their concern back then was like C-3PO wasn't popular enough.
Dude, he had his own
Whatever.
fucking cereal.
Did you just
Yeah.
put, Did they
Droids.
never eat those?
That's how I got to be 6'3".
All those vitamins
Put something
in there.
good in that.
They're fortified for growth.
And that's why you have that kind of effete accent, too.
They had a cartoon show.
Like the one that makes me say, "Gremlins, gremlins, bite after bite, the delicious way to satisfy the gremlin appetite."
Is that really the jingle?
I'm like the Shane version of old jingles. Like, you know what he is with like random video game factoids.
Yeah.
I could do that with like everything from like Fruit Island cereal. Oh, yumma yumma. Now you're cooking.
Can you
It's
do,
for you. It's different than mom's and it's more fun too.
Can you do crispy critters?
Crispy critters, how do you do? Crispy critters cereal's entirely new. It's indubitably.
I could do that, but they go back, mine go back to the 70s.
But this one, Mr. T, he's got a fistful of rings and a mean look in his eye. Mr. T, he's got a real cool haircut and he's 12 inches high. Mr. T, from Galoob. But there's like gaps because I was just like in the era when I was a latchkey kid and I would be exposed to that kind of crap.
There's a weird thing in our brains that retains those jingles. I don't know what it is. I think it's particularly American
They were
because
affected.
my wife is like
Yeah.
appalled by my ability
They've done their job
to recall
then.
this shit.
They are
you know.
tailored to be remembered.
Yeah, I can't
They
remember
work too well.
where my keys are or whatever that, but I can do
designed
like
to
the
be
Blue
mind
Bonnet
worms. Yeah.
margarine commercial from 1973. Everything's better with Blue Bonnet on it. See?
Where's the rest though? I want some like, Teen Steam, gotta let it out.
This will be a separate podcast.
Yeah, we'll have
just
to
do
come back.
jingles.
Those
We'll do
just-
jingles all night.
It's a jingle battle royale.
But then the best ones were like Mr. Bucket, the balls come out of my mouth. Mr. Bucket. It's just like, even at the time, like, what? Why do they got to do that? Buckets are fun.
What else do we got? Anything? We should say we're still like just recovering from post-show burnout.
Right.
I should
I'll
say.
be ready
if
to-
this podcast seems a bit scattered.
I'm playing Frontlines. Frontlines Field of War came out today. I'm playing that for review.
I saw you playing it already.
Yeah, I'll have more to say on it next week. Maybe Anthony, you'll get you a copy. You'll play with me.
I got utterly obsessed with Civ IV this weekend, so I wanted to bring that up.
Okay,
because
bring it up.
and I am bringing it up because my brain, the thinking went from I got back into Spore after you and I saw it at that event. And I just got re-excited for that game, and I was thinking about Soren Johnson, who had moved from Firaxis to Maxis to work on Spore, and I thought it was interesting that this guy has gone from, working on Sid Meier's Civilization to working on Will Wright's Spore. And really, he actually was the lead designer at Civ IV. I'm not sure what kind of input Sid had. I'm sure he had some, but really it was Soren's game more than anyone else's. And so just thinking about Soren Johnson made me boot that up. And, I don't know if you guys here have played Civ IV, or if you've played previous Civs, probably. But, my obsession with Civ was the original one. And that game, it just... you need to commit to it if you're really going to do it. You cannot be a Civ dabbler because the games are just so long. I mean, it's like Sins of the Solar Empire now, except it's turn-based, so it's even slower. So, working in this job, I never really take the opportunity to just totally indulge in a game like that.
Have you ever finished a game?
Of Civ?
A multiplayer game? Yeah.
Multiplayer, no. Single player all the time. Yeah.
We tried like those kind of games multiplayer, but it just never worked.
We never finish.
They're really,
two
really
sessions
hard.
max, and then you're done.
Yeah.
Because mostly it's just the waiting.
Yeah, just waiting for
other people
everybody else to
thing
take
while
their
you-
turn.
especially like
But
Heroes of Might and
this
Magic.
Saturday after GDC, I was so wiped out, and I was so tired I couldn't even read. I didn't want to do anything, and I told my family just like I seriously need to veg out in front of a game and just forgive me. I miss you too, but I'll see you tomorrow. I need a day on my own.
It's weird that you chose to
not
veg out with Civ 4, which is like really dense
It is, but I really wanted to get lost in something really dense. You know, it's sort of like picking up a big historical novel or something. You know, I knew I was going to spend hours on it, so I felt like if ever there was a day where I was going to finally get to give this game the time it needed, it was today. And so I played it from about 11 a.m. until 2:30 in the morning, and I got up for the necessary bathroom breaks and food, and to say hi to the people I live with once in a while. And it was so fucking good. It was so great. It felt good to do that, for one. I'll probably never do it again, it'll be many years again since I get a day like that. But that game, it just reminded me, how brilliant the game design is in that thing. It's very similar to Sins of a Solar Empire in that there's so much to do. There's so many goals on any one turn. There's so much to accomplish that it just seems like it could break so easily. Like, this should not be a game that functions because it's too unwieldy. You're trying to conquer the world from 4400 BC until the future, and there's just no way that should really work. And it's just such brilliant design. It always has been, back to Civ 1 in 1991. But Civ 4... Civ 4 seemed particularly great to me because they've made the concessions to the way it looks now in terms of its graphics. They've streamlined a lot of the stuff that used to be much more tedious. It's kind of the same way that like PC gamers used to be able to deal with editing their autoexec.bat file and configsys, and now everything's, like we put up with more back then.
Yeah.
And in Civ 4 now, they've gotten rid of some of the like intense micromanaging that I think just wouldn't fly now. And so you really can go in and just play it on a certain level if you want. I'm just going to build cities and I'm going to conquer that country over there. And you don't have to worry about, putting workers on certain tiles and things like that for the city management. But if you want to, you can.
That's where the older ones broke for me, is like in the late game, when you are reaching the more modern era and things are starting to get interesting technologically. That's when one turn took forever.
Yeah.
Just because you had to go to all the different places you've conquered and micromanage all that stuff. And that's where I lost interest. And I usually played like 2/3 of a game. Even if I was winning, I would then start a new one instead of finishing off the one I was on, just because the late games for those were just so overwhelming to me.
And I think that's not entirely gone. I know there was at least one game where I did that. Like, I was at like 70. I could see I was going to win. And every turn is so long that I was like, okay, well, I won. I'm going to say I won.
Mm-hmm. Just gonna give yourself some hot cocoa and call it night.
I was waiting to make a comment on there, and I was like, this would be the perfect point to transition. But then, like, you kept going, and then you ended on that note. I was actually going to say that it reminds me of, like, well, another reason to celebrate, PC as a gaming platform, until you got to the point where your turns take so long, you just pretend you win. But no, because like it's one reason why last week was so frustrating to me. Not just because of like coming out of the convention, the conference, there was just so much doom and gloom PC talk, and I think that in the middle of all the punditry and the point making and just trying as far as the podcasting goes and stuff, trying to score points with online listeners and stuff, the whole talk was just like, PCs are too hard to manage. It's too hard to change.
This
video
isn't one up yours. You're talking
in one up yours,
not here.
And also, but in the larger extent of just the show, when you had Cliffy B's comments, and a few other people made comments to the extent that they were losing faith in the platform and this and that. But I think the majority of the discussion was all about people that didn't play PC games at least on one up yours. People that don't play PC games in the first place, or you're talking about how difficult they are. How difficult the hardware is to work with. All these problems that are to a great extent, I think they're blowing them out of proportion. But ultimately, it was really the discussion was just about the business side of things. And like, this is what was disturbing to me is just like the love for the huge heritage of PC games and the type of games that only come out and only would have come out, if not for the platform, and all these other aspects of it, and the reasons why we do what we do and why we love it. It's like that all just gets lost in the middle of like trying to be the first to bang to say I called it. It's dead. I called it.
Right.
How many times have that bell been rung though?
And it's been rung a million times. And it was funny because like even like Mark Rain went out spoke up to contradict Cliffy B and say that he's just basically a console developer and he's been one for ages, and he's missing, the point. Even some of our guests, Chris Taylor was talking about how he hopes to make more money with the 360 version of Supreme Commander, and it was like, it slipped my mind at the time, but we could have pointed out that, like, Command & Conquer 3 allegedly sold, according to NPD numbers, like 1.7 million copies on PC and a mere, 300 and something thousand on the console. So it's like, well, we could have asked, Chris, like, well, do you think that Supreme Commander is going to be any different? You think, I mean, there's just so many factors involved and stuff. And I mean, I don't know, not to get into it too much, just to say that, I mean, it's good to hear, when you guys are, even though, like, I particularly haven't played that game, it sounds like something I should. I mean, it's good to see, like, the experience you're describing is definitely unique.
It's a
PC.
fucking brilliant game. It is. I mean, my comment about, quitting at the end, it's only because we're talking about like hours and hours,
right,
in which I was utterly gripped at my computer, and I just saw the way the tide was. It was attrition at this point in my game. I mean, I'm not being defensive now. I'm just saying, if you played the game, you would know at a certain point you're basically just grinding out an end game
and
scenario.
Many games work that way, yeah.
Right?
I mean, chess works that way.
But certainly there's plenty of games of Civ where it does turn out bad for you way in the late game. I mean, it stays challenging. Especially this is a game where the AI is so scalable. You could start out at what's essentially like a sandbox level to learn the game. But once you start ramping it up, this thing will completely kick your ass. And that's what I love about the game so much, is that, to me, I realized this weekend, after like almost a decade or more of really not, I used to love Civ, and then I just, you get busy with everything else. But I think after this weekend, and it's probably just a gut reaction, I would change it in a week. But like right now, I feel like, because I get asked this question all the time, that this would be my desert island game, because there's so much to do. As soon as you notch up that AI one more notch, and there's a bunch, I forget, like 12 levels of difficulty, all of a sudden every strategy you thought you had to beat the AI, once you think you have it figured out, and this is just an algorithm I can work around because my brain is smarter than the computer's, all of a sudden your whole game is out the window again, and you have to rethink it all again. So, and it's not to say, like, so yes, it's very hard on if you want it to be, but you could scale it down to where anybody who's not even a PC gamer could go in there and I think find like total joy in this game on the most basic level. So, and it is a unique PC experience.
Very much.
And probably just sounding like the old guy.
Turn-based games.
True. They're now playing stuff.
You guys playing Audiosurf?
Yes.
A little bit.
Good game. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh my God! I did not play it, but I talk about it.
It's pretty awesome.
Why is it awesome?
Thanks, Ryan.
What makes it awesome?
Well,
is it synesthesia?
Well, it's sort of, for people who don't know what Audiosurf is, it's kind of like a Guitar Hero-ish thing. I mean, I guess I can't compare it. It's like you're hitting colored buttons to music.
It looked like Guitar Hero to me.
It's more like Bejeweled meets. I mean, it's a match 3, right?
I mean, there's a mode where you can play it that way. You don't have to.
Sounds like neither of you know what this is.
I played
I'm just
it.
gonna sit this one out.
No, I played it.
Listen to the quality analysis.
Oh, geez.
Damn. Ouch. That fucking hurts. I give this discussion a C.
What is it? It's great. It's like that's the Mikey Life review. Serial.
So you move like this little ship or what have you along this track, in which there are like 3 or 4 different lanes where there's colored blocks that you'll run over, and you have at the very bottom of the screen you have like this grid where you have to match 3 colors in any one column, 3 or more of the same color, because all the different bricks you're running over, red, blue, whatever, and when you match 3 touching blocks, it'll clear out and give you points. And so
see how innovative that is?
Well,
you match 3 colored things together.
The track undulates
and then they clear
in time with the music, with the tempo, and the beat of the music that you got, and then also the blocks come in time with like certain tones, like snares and cymbals and things like that.
Right.
That's really the unique aspect of it, right?
And you can use any music you want with it. You can
Which
use
is very
all
cool.
your own
including
music.
what's her name, YouTube Hero.
Mandy Moore.
No.
What's her name?
What's her
Jeff's
name?
favorite singer.
Janice.
Yeah,
What
that
is it?
one that you were sending me those horrible links.
Jan something.
Jan something.
Get down, Goblin.
Get Down Goblin, yeah. Get Down Goblin.
That's part of the fun for me of Audiosurf is just like uploading your score and seeing if anyone else has raced that track. And so far,
Yeah.
it's like not
Mine
one.
almost never do either. I found that if you want to get a high score and you want to have an easy time playing, put on reggae.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, it goes... The speed of the
It's just
thing goes to
constant
the speed of the
entire
music.
time. I was
Yeah.
actually going to recommend. I've had the most fun with tracks that have like a wide variety of tempos, and so then you could feel. I mean, the track slowing down and speeding up, the audio track and that physical track in the game that you're racing along, so that you get that synesthesia experience to a better extent when you're consciously aware of like the
I was really getting the
different changes in music.
synesthesia effect with Kraftwerk. Because they have a Kraftwerk, we dance for you now.
That's who you're
because they because you do have the steady rhythmic hypnotic beat, but they're constantly adding on different instruments, which are
Right.
getting represented that way in
So-
the game.
The visual representation of the music is where
It's cool. Yeah.
If you play one song, because you can put any MP3 you own in there, right?
Right.
So if you play it one time, will it be identical the next time, or is there some element of randomization, like every time you replay a song?
It's the same.
Depends on the
don't
mode.
know, yeah.
You can change it with
right,
the
there's
modes
different
and
game
stuff.
modes.
Right.
There's a mode where there's just colored blocks and then brick walls. You're supposed to avoid the brick walls and hit all the colored blocks. That's the one I like.
It is a really neat function that as soon as you're done, you can upload your score immediately and see who else has played that song. That's
The
a
only
very
thing
cool
about
technology.
that is like bad ID3 tags kill this game.
Oh, because there's so
Oh,
many
yeah.
versions.
I mean, like whenever I decide, hey, I'm going to play whatever song, I'll go and search high scores to see what the correct name of the song is that people have been playing.
Change your
again,
file
yeah.
to that.
So
Right.
what songs have you done, Ryan? I'm curious.
I did the Portal song, which I'm sure everybody
Okay.
did.
Right, which comes right there in the
Anything
game.
from Final Fantasy?
No.
Oh,
I did, what did I do? I did the Back to the Future theme song.
Is that gotta get back in time?
No, like the instrumental, the instrumental song, not that song. Damn it!
Did you do anything from the Top Gun soundtrack?
No, I did an Eminem song. Rap is another one that's it's very steady, very easy, not too chaotic.
You're not listening to the right rap. Cage's Ballad of Worms got all kinds of mix up in it. I've been racing that one. It's good.
Okay.
It's fun.
I had a friend, this is a little tangent, who would play Star Fox for the SNES, but he would turn the volume all the way down and then put Roxette's The Look on repeat the whole time he played.
Oh,
And
shit.
that's the only
Wow.
way he could play it.
Really?
It's freaky.
And as he was playing, and he was like
Got the
sputtering
look.
out
He's
loud.
like, grooving to the
kinda
beat
weird.
as he plays Star Fox.
So is that sort of like syncing up Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz for him?
That's my
Was
only
like
guess. I don't
certain lyrics were
It was transcendental for him.
working certain times.
Was he like autistic or
toad.
schizophrenic or anything?
Maybe.
Hello,
That's kind of like my my wife and I lived in this house up in the Berkeley Hills. Our landlord lived below us in the same house, and he used to be down there. And in the middle of the night, he would he would be with his girlfriend down there, and they would have loud sex to Madonna's "Papa Don't Preach," which was on repeat. Like, what a fucked up song to be, I'm keeping my baby. And it was our landlord too, so like we couldn't exactly complain. It's like, dude.
Yeah, that's why we don't want to go there. But sex to music with lyrics can be a bad thing.
That one
Just
just was
start
like,
paying attention, and like that, you're like, oh shit, I don't want you to
You have
keep
that
it, baby.
association.
I can't hear that song to this day. It reminds me of my landlord having sex.
The whole listening to the same thing over and over again reminded me of my friend Corey. He had this older brother, and he's like was in his room listening to Radiohead's "Fake Plastic Trees" like over and over again for like 3 days, and then like that it was just all day long, just that single track. He had like all of the bands or whatever, wouldn't play anything else, and then the same guy, though, like months later, he had sort of like a schizophrenic episode, and that was the first thing to mark the onset of total full-blown schizophrenia. But his first thing was that God spoke to him, and we found this out because he came up to Corey and he was like telling him, he's like, God talked to me, and we're like, well, what did he tell you, dude? He's like, he doesn't want you to smoke pot anymore, Corey. We were like, oh, shit. he broke a 2,000-year code of silence to tell Corey to lay off the reefer. You better lay off the reefer, dude.
Yeah. This is serious.
It was important like that.
How'd we get there?
Audiosurf.
Audiosurf.
We turned it to like Savant Surf. Well, we can bring it back to the PC. In general, just by saying how well that game has been selling. I mean, Doug Lombardi from Valve is saying that it's like their number one, Steam's number one selling software right now.
How much is it? $10?
$10.
Yeah, it's $9.99 or something. $10.
There were big crowds at GDC around it at the independent games area. They had Audiosurf running. So.
Need more games. I like more games that employ music in some way or another. I started trying Patapon. Because Eric Wopa from Valve, Portal Writer, was recommending it to us. And I've only gotten so far into it that I can just go around going, Patapon.
I've done like 5 or 6
It's like a cult with this game. Everybody who has this game does this.
Because
Skip was
Isn't
doing
that what the
too.
whole thing is, though?
And that's really what it is. Basically, imagine if you had a side-scrolling game and you had a little army, and rather than telling them attack or move forward or run or defend, you basically take a button and string it out so that it's like 4 buttons. So, for example, it would be like square, circle, square, square, and then that makes us like patapon. There's like sort of onomatopoeia for drum sounds in Japanese or something. So it'll be like pon pon patapon, and then your guys will attack. And then if you want them to run forward, patapon.
Okay.
And then so when you look at it this way, it's really ridiculous because you're taking basically a binary, these really simple commands, attack or move forward, and you're assigning them to this sort of convoluted rhythmic input. But the fun is in the call and response is that you do it, and in their wee little distorted Japanese voices, the characters will respond to whatever drum call you had, and they'll go do it. So far, I haven't got to the point where there's any like real strategy involved. I mean, you could see that it's modeled after a strategy game where you collect items and you're able to outfit your armies with them, and
there's different unit types.
Get different unit types by getting food and clink or whatever they call money, cat, whatever they call it.
I don't know.
And so far it just seems pretty like the actual play part. It's just like stylistically, it's just fantastic.
It's pretty fun. It's only like a $19 game.
Yeah,
for PSP.
There's enough like intriguing
to.
Aspects to this that I have to go pick it up. I've been looking for it for like the last week, but then I found out it's not out yet until today or something. So
it's not. So how are you?
Why don't you? I was borrowing the library, the 1UP library copy, and I'll turn it into you because I kind of got to the point where you could tell that there's some grinding involved, where basically you want to say you get to a level and you got like a boss or something, you got to fight, and you have to have the right unit makeup to do it. But in order to get those units, you need to go back to the levels you've already beat and basically do your version of attack, move, attack, move, attack, move.
On levels you've already done.
Over and over again until you can get the units you need to go fight the boss. And then after a while, for me, I don't know, maybe I'm just like cold-hearted, but the patapon, it was still sounded cute. But it was just like, I got other games. I went and picked up Super Paper Mario. I wanted to play some of that.
Cool. I've been mostly doing console games. Just like last week, and I beat Devil May Cry 4.
I'm ashamed.
How is that?
It's really good.
I
for some reason, those games I'm always just drawn to. I don't know, and I don't know what it is about those ones in particular over because I don't like God of War.
See, I'm the exact opposite. God of War I like.
Really?
Devil May Cry, not at all.
God of War just doesn't do it for me. But like Ninja Gaiden and Devil May Cry, I love. So I think maybe it's because they're hard.
I think I had the most fun with Ninja Gaiden, but then it was too hard. And I wish it had the Ninja Dog mode in the original game that I played.
4 is pretty hard too. It's not as hard as 3. It does this. It has this design philosophy like Ninja Gaiden that it lets you do easy mode, but it has to insult the hell out of you first
for doing it, which is fucking dumb.
So like
little sissy boy needs that kind of stuff.
It also has this weird design issue where the better you do,
responding to our reviews or something.
It also has this weird thing with, like, the better you do, the more skill points you get, basically, to buy new skills. But it's kind of counterintuitive, because if you're doing bad and you're continuing too much, it'll deduct skill points from you, meaning if you're doing bad, you can't make yourself better to get the combos and stuff. So it's like this reverse... I don't know. It's a very bizarre
Japanese sort of thing to punish you.
It very, very much is. But I still played the hell out of it, and it's just their weapons are really cool. And the combos are really fun. It's just like that game for me, of all the, like, straight up action combo games.
Yeah,
that one they just feel really fun in that game to me. So.
I have to try it. It's always surprising to me to see how people are like, they like one and hate the other. Like Ryan chimed in to say that he hates Ninja Gaiden, and because you always see this, like, you can get with this or you can get with that, and it's like there's so few games of this sort, especially the Japanese ones. It's like, wouldn't you like both? Wouldn't you want to play both? I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, it would be like me, like, saying, do you like Half-Life 2 Episode 2 or do you like BioShock? Which is it going to be? And then expecting you to hate the other and to spend all this time. The other problem is that the console, I think that the platform stuff gets in the way too. There is when people have points to, this one looks better, or this one is like, this one is more like thoroughly associated with this platform, even though it's now available on both. I don't know. I mean, maybe it is. I mean, clearly, there's people are going to prefer one game over the other, But it just seems weird to me that, because I like kind of both of those games, but what puts me off is, like you were saying, just the difficulty level. I don't ever want to be frustrated playing a single player game again. Like, I just hit this point where it's like, why am I paying to be frustrated?
Right.
Like, why am I paying and then choosing to use my time that's supposed to be for entertainment to frustrate myself?
Some people
I don't get that in any other. I don't get that with books. I don't get it with movies or anything.
Some people like that, though. I know my roommate likes to. He likes the masochistic part of, like, being beat up in Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
And then he likes the accomplishment he feels
that's
when he gets
thing.
through it.
That's because I don't feel any sense of accomplishment ever for beating a video game or something. So that because of
that's what achievements are for.
That
Sean.
means that means that the punishment seems like doubly unnecessary.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think for me, I just learned when to quit. So, like, the only type of games that really make me mad to the point where I'm like yelling at the TV, like those YouTube videos of the guys freaking out. The only time I get to that, I mean, when I get to that point, the only time I do is in games like Mario games. It's when I'm having to repeat, and it's when I know how to do the thing. I get it, but I can't do it because of the timing or whatever.
Yeah.
That's when I lose my shit. But it's at the point where I'm about
There's
to now.
one level in Mario that did that to me.
But now I know when to quit.
Is it a Dreadnought level that you're on?
Well, see, it's been weeks since I played. I don't even remember. But now I know when I start even feeling that, when I'm like going back to the same thing, and in my head I'm going, and my wife walks by and goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm fine. That's when I know, okay, turn off the Wii, because I'm not having fun now.
I just take them and trade them in, put them in a trade-in pile when they hit that point. I do it as a kid because, right? Said it over and over again, but it's like,
well, right.
You beg for a game,
if you've paid,
you're not getting another one for a while. You damn well better play it. And then now, in a review scenario, or you don't have the option of just saying I'm not going to play anymore. Thankfully, I don't get those kind of games very often. I kind of have a decent say in kind of games I review. So,
yeah, it's nice when you don't just get assigned random shit, huh?
Yeah.
Wasn't that the case at EGM when you were?
Well, it was always that way. Yeah, just review this and that, and like that's why I got some of the most horrible experiences I've ever had, like the Evil Dead, one of these Evil Dead games, and it was like the whole Infinite Regress series of game progress where there's this gate, and you figure out right away that this is the gate you need to open. But to get the key, you're like, okay, well, I need to go and get this guy something. But then you go to get that guy something. It's like, well, to give the item to give to the guy, you got to do something else, and on it goes. And they would embed it in that game some like 5-6 steps deep. And at the same time, just the gameplay itself was just dumb. And then I'd just lose track of everything, couldn't figure out what. And I'm looking at the clock, and they're like, your review's due 2 days. I was like, well, that's fucking good because I spent my whole day on one level. How am I going to get to it?
Hey,
that's horrible.
That's always the good until you've had the bad.
Yeah, that's a concern to me, though, when I'm reviewing is that, like I always feel like the need to make sure, like, if I'm getting frustrated, am I getting frustrated because my progress is impeded because I'm feeling the deadline looming?
Right.
Or is the progress impediment? Would I be okay with this if I knew I didn't have anything to do after this? You know what I mean?
Those are all the moments when it's best to put the game down and come back and then get right past that thing you were getting stuck on right away. But those are the moments where you can't because you're like, I don't have an hour to spare.
Right. I'm not going to bed till I beat this fucking thing.
Yeah.
Good times.
Games
Generally,
are fun.
with print, because of our deadlines, we don't really even get in that scenario anymore, at least in GFW, because there are far fewer games, and we're not having 3 people review every single game. But we'll have to watch that now that we're back on the online thing as well.
Indeed.
I'm reviewing Frontlines now. I decided not to talk about it yet, I guess, just because I'll wait and get a more fully formed impression of it. But playing the campaign was actually pretty fun. It's got, clearly the AI was improvised for what's like ultimately a multiplayer game, and is just there to help fill in the blanks in this single player mode that they're making. But as far as the single player mode goes, for what I think of as a multiplayer shooter, it's pretty damn fun so far. I'm really liking it. I'm more concerned about multiplayer, actually, just because the first and only map I played so far was like really aircraft heavy, which is fine because I love that. But there were so many and so few people that ever wanted to do anything on the ground because they were seemingly like impotent in the face of the helicopter and jet attacks.
Right.
So there's the usual problems. I'm curious to see how they handle those, and little things like how they handle rockets. I'm a big fan of the tow rocket in Battlefield 2. Just basically, it works like the rocket does in Half-Life 2, where you point at something and it's laser guided. And that's fun because there's like a bit of manual input involved, and there is a reward. That's where I feel gratified in games and stuff. It's like if I hit a helicopter that's flying full speed a quarter mile out with a tank shell, and I intuited perfectly the amount of drop and lead on it, and then I see the thing blow up. That feels really rewarding. So it's great to use the missiles that way, too, because even though they're wire-guided, they're slower in Battlefield 2. So you'll have to work it. And this is the old, you hold your crosshairs over it, and you get a lock, and you fire the button and forget about it. And there's a lot of that. And it kind of makes me really wish that, I guess I'm kind of getting my wish with Battlefield Heroes. I was going to say that the next big Battlefield game actually go back to World War II. That seems like a weird thing to ask for, but there's so many things that work better in my mind with non-automated weapon systems, heat-seeking missiles and lock-ons and countermeasures and stuff, because those are a lot less fun than just figuring out how to lead your target with old-fashioned cannon fire and hitting them rather than just passing by someone and missiles.
That was real war.
Missiles away.
When you had to point your weapon at the enemy yourself and fire.
Perfect transition.
Yeah,
I like that because it was fun, not necessarily for the realism. However, I did want to bring this up. We got these forum responses to GFW review of Forgotten Hope 2. It's a mod for Battlefield 2, and like what I'm asking for, it's set in World War II in the North African theater. Rory Mannion reviewed it for us, and first off, we reviewed it in the first place because I was like, this looks great. These guys made a big mod for Battlefield 42. They're back now. Their skins, their items, all the things, all the assets that they put together for this game just look professional grade. There's a lot of potential for just to be a cool game, So I was like, hey, let's treat it just like one of the big boys, The difference being, you could make a point where you're like, oh, where are you going to score it, right? But it's free. And I've always tried to explain, on the podcast that, at least when I review a game, it's not just like, what's the value proposal here or whatever. Is this just a good game or is it not? Let's look at this as a game. And then since we don't do the consumer report style thing, and if you did a consumer report style thing on a free mod, then it's absolutely free. The only thing you're spending is your time. So it would be like, well, that means they're automatically a 9 or a 10, So I think that is responsible for some of the harsh reaction that I've been picking up. But so specifically on the forums dedicated to this mod, the guys are going crazy there
because we
gave it a low score. Rory gave it what was it, a 4?
Something like that.
And they are just going wild there. And some of them are completely cool. It's like, you understand, they really like it, and it's always upsetting when someone else disagrees with you, It pisses me off. Like every time I would hear about a Game of the Year award for an RTS and it would go to CNC3 or World of Conflict over Company Heroes, I'd be like, what the fuck do they know? You'd think that too, Anthony.
That's exactly what I was thinking at our award ceremony.
Yeah.
CNC3 got it.
One up Reader's Choice. Yeah, the RTS thing was for CNC, and we're just like, you gotta be smoking some of that shit that Corey's brother didn't want him smoking. And so it's like, hey, I understand.